Welcome to Melodic Mandarin. This video intends to offer an easy way to master speaking Chinese, Mandarin to be specific, especially for people who can speak a Western language, like English. Along the way, a language feature in Chinese may lead to a reference to the counterpart of English for illustration purpose. But as long as you understand English, even if you don't speak English fluently, this video should be helpful to build a solid foundation of speaking Mandarin. This video will simplify the fundamental principle to its core, to prepare you to face the almost overwhelming details in your journey to learn how to speak Mandarin. Let's get started. The first tip is to mentally prepare yourself to sing, not speak the Mandarin. This could be first shocking concept for an English-speaking student. To help you smooth over this transition from speaking into singing, I would use some musical terms to help along, since compared to English, Chinese is much more melodic, not monotonic, and it will help a lot to dissect the subject in a melodically way. You will see what I mean in a moment, and hopefully, you agree. Traditionally, to learn how to speak Mandarin, students had been taught to learn the 4 tones of pronouncing Chinese. As in the following table. The first column lists the tones in order. The second column shows the Chinese character example with pronunciation aid, and the third column shows the English translation. You don't need to understand everything in this table. This is used just to show how this has been taught historically. The first one is a flat tone, the second one is an upward-going tone, the third one is a down and then up tone, and the fourth one is a downward-going tone. Traditionally, it is implied that even the order of the tones should be remembered, since a lot of times the pronunciation of a character is explained as having, for instance, the third tone. Then the student has to recall that the third tone is a downward and upward tone, before he or she can pronounce it. Are you looking at this table? Do you see or feel anything wrong with that? Do you have any comment? To me, I think this is one thing that the tradition is not offering the best to everyone and future generations. I do understand why it has been passed along generations, since, well, it is a tradition. To make it easy and obvious to learn how to pronounce Chinese, I suggest that you only accept that there are 4 melodic transitions in Chinese pronunciation: a hold, an up, a dip and a down. And you don't need to remember the order, just remember what they are. The name of each transition should clearly indicate what they are, yet, still, I will explain momentarily exactly what they mean in a musical way, so that there will be no ambiguity of what they mean. For instance, traditionally, the dip, third tone, implies a falling then rising movement. But what is the relationship between the fall and rise? And when does it fall or rise with the consonants and vowels involved? The traditional 4 tones is far from telling you how to do it. It let you rise and fall terribly. It will be very clear in just a minute. At this point, it will be helpful to introduce the term of vocal configuration of the mouth, VC in short. In order to make a sound in Mandarin, or in any language, I think, it involves the cooperation of the tongue, teeth, throat, vocal cord, speed of air thrust through the teeth. It is very complicated. You can easily get overwhelmed. For now, just remember the term VC. Loosely speaking, each VC produces a vowel or consonant sound, just like in English. There are many sounds in Mandarin. Each one requires its own VC. How to pronounce each and every one of them requires another video by itself. This video focuses just on how to get the most crucial and fundamental aspect of mastering speaking Mandarin, the 4 transitions. Master this first, and it will make the rest so much easier. This table shows the relationships between the rising, falling, or downward movement of singing each character of a certain transition using a musical triplet. Sing the Mandarin character using its transition. Each person in the world has a different vocal range. The table above is using E4 as the natural pitch when you speak. Yours will be different, and adjust accordingly. In musical terms, transpose the notes in the table. It does not matter which pitch or note you start with. We are all different. The transition is the difference maker. So, as an example, a dip transition will sound like this. It could be helpful to have a musical instrument or a computer program to help along. Don't mind the speed or tempo at this moment. It will vary in real life according to the context. Here is a summary so far. The pronunciation of a character should be regarded as a short period of singing by itself. To pronounce each Chinese character, I would suggest you to accept using the concept of musical triplet note to accomplish the task. This triplet will be sung as a slur, not as 3 separate notes. The transition happening between each sublet of the triplet using different VCs is the most crucial elements of speaking Mandarin. It can't be emphasized more enough. Get it right before you learn other aspects of how to speak Mandarin. A good approach is to recognize the fact that to pronounce each Mandarin character, 2 things are fundamental: the number of VCs involved and the type of transition. For example, let's say you want to pronounce the Chinese sound wu. Trust me, this sound exists in Mandarin. Just follow me with wu for now. Leading to characters with 1 VC, you should remember that there are 4 transitions possible, and I recommend you use a musical instrument to help you practice these 4 transition. Wu is easy and simple to do, a character of 1 VC. Using hold transition, it will be Using up transition, it will be Using dip transition, it will be Using down transition, it will be For English-speaking persons, since there is, in general, no note transition within a syllable, even though sometimes it may be done in an emotional context, or in singing. This is the most difficult part when starting to speak Mandarin for them. Transitions in Chinese is mandatory, and requires all your attentions. Can't be emphasized stronger enough. Characters of 1 VC like wu is simple and should be regarded as a confidence builder. Practice well before moving on. As a matter of fact, and in general this is true for all sounds, each of the transition for the sound wu above represents a different character with different meaning, sometimes completely opposite to one another. There are many jokes about people speaking Chinese with incorrect transitions causing embarrassments. They are true. The example above is a simple one. The sound wu requires only one VC. Now we move on to characters with two VCs. In general, using terms in English, the first VC produces a consonant and the second VC produces a vowel. Let's use the famous sound as the example. Ma. Again, just trust me, this sound exists in Mandarin. It requires one VC to make the sound M, and a second VC for the sound A. So practice the following. Don't worry if you are wondering if you are pronouncing it correctly. Focus on the transition for now. Using hold transition, it will be
Ma.
Using up transition, it will be
Ma.
Using dip transition, it will be
Ma.
Using down transition, it will be
Ma.
As you can see, in general, the first sublet in the triplet is used for the consonant, and the rests are used for the vowel. The transition from the first VC to second VC will be quick and requires a lot of practice. Up to this point, uttering a sound with two VCs also happens in English, so it is not new. But, especially for English-speaking persons, having to do a transition along the way makes it even more uncomfortable. Do you have a hard time to do the down transition just now? It is not easy, but this is what is required to master Chinese. You can start using a metronome at a lower speed to begin with and gradually speed it up. Train yourself for the VC and transition at the same time, with single VC change. This will be a good foundation for next step. At this point, with characters with two VCs, you need to pay attention to the detail that do not confuse a transition within a character with sound of multiple characters in a sentence. For English-speaking persons, that may well happen, since there is no transition in English, and two VCs plus transition can easily lead to assumption of multiple characters. You are encouraged to find many characters with two VCs to practice, and listen to the sound you uttered to train your ears to get used to it. Try the VCs of easy vowels first, do not spend time on the foreign one. As a matter of fact, I even encourage you to use consonants and vowels in English to make up sounds to practice. Even that will help. Practice well, since things will get more demanding. Ask yourself constantly while practicing, do you recognize that there are two VCs in the sound? Get used to the sound of a very, very short consonant leading a vowel. This will go a long way helping you identify sounds of two VCs by themselves, or during the next step, part of three VCs. Moving on to the next level, characters with three VCs. The sound GE arranged by will be used as the example. In general, they are in the format of consonant, C, vowel 1, V1, vowel 2, V2, so the way to pronounce them will be using hold transition.
Ja.
Using up transition, it will be
Ja.
using dip transition, it will be
Ja.
Using down transition, it will be
驾
It is quite demanding to train yourself to make 2 VCs with 1 sublets of the triplet for the consonant and the first vowel. Do you know what will help most? Mastering the characters with 2 VCs will be the best way to help yourself to master characters with 3 VCs. Again, practice is the key. I mentioned that there are 4 transitions. There is actually a 5th transition in Mandarin. I will name it light transition. This transition happens usually following a previous character. This transition is like to attach 1 more sublet to the previous character as shown in the table. Again, I would still use a triplet to explain how to utter it. Depending upon the transition of the first character, the second character will be uttered using different note, as illustrated in the table. For the whole transition, it will be
杯子
For the up transition, it will be
朋友
For the dip transition, it will be
我们
For the down transition, it will be
舅舅
When the light transition character is uttered, condense all VCs into the first sublet. Utter the VCs but without variation in note. It is possible since there is no rising, falling, up or down movement of the notes, and the duration lasts for only 1 sublet. So stop after the first sublet, and do not go into the second or third sublet. So, the effect is that it will sound very light. The light transition is kind of an advanced feature. Practice it after you have mastered other transitions. If you can speak other transitions fluently, I bet the light transition may happen naturally, if you relax and try to make yourself sound good when you speak. By now, I hope you have accepted the importance of recognizing the number of VCs involved and the kind of transition involved in the melody of a Mandarin character. The key is practice to train yourself, how to pronounce the VC and transition, and train your ear for recognize the VCs and transition of a character. These are all for today. Did you get the points? It is time to give yourself a test. I will pronounce a character slowly, and you will ask yourself how many VCs and what transitions are involved, and write them down in the comment below. It is okay that you might not have started learning all the possible VCs. Challenge yourself by listening closely and dissect it with what you understand so far. If you can't do it right the first time, practice more and come back and try it again. Here we go.
还月